Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Today we're tackling something huge, a real cultural earthquake, actually. We're talking about a phenomenon that didn't just smash streaming records. It fundamentally shifted how global content gets financed, how it's marketed, how we all consume it. We are talking, of course, about the Netflix original American animated film, K-pop Demon Hunters. You'll hear us call it KDH.
Yeah, KDH. It's such a perfect, shiny example of this transnational digital era we're in. Released back in June 2025, this Sony Pictures animation film, well, it just immediately became this outlier, this anomaly. The premise sounds kind of simple, but it clearly struck a chord. This super talented K-pop girl group, Huntress, they secretly hunt demons. And they're battling their rivals, this sort of corrupted male group, the Saja Boys.
And the team behind it is seriously top tier. You've got the Korean-Canadian director Maggie Kang, plus, dump involvement from Korean industry legends like Teddy the Hitmaker and actor Lee Byung-hun. So our mission today is to look past the cool animation and the awesome songs to really understand the sheer financial power, the cultural weight, and the algorithmic engine behind this film, and what it all means for global IP, going forward.
We absolutely have to start with the scoreboard. I mean, the numbers here aren't just big. They're kind of in a league of their own.
Right. Let's hit the Netflix dominance first. We all knew KDH was huge, but the cumulative viewing record, that really makes it historic for Netflix, doesn't it?
It really does. In just 91 days, think about that, 3 months, KDH pulled in an unbelievable 325.1 million views. Now, put that in perspective. It flew past Squid Game Season 1, which, everyone remembers how massive that was. That was 265.2 million.
Okay, but wait a sec. Squid Game hit when Netflix maybe had fewer global subscribers, right?
Yeah.
It was earlier in that big streaming boom.
Yeah.
Does that comparison kind of skew things? I mean, is KDH's performance really more dominant when you factor that in?
That's a fair question, a really critical one. And the consensus is, well, yes. Yes, it is. For a couple of reasons. First, the success wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was sustained. KDH was the first Netflix title ever to break 300 million views. But maybe more importantly, the first to smash past 500 million total viewing hours. That kind of sticky engagement where people keep watching, that tells you a lot more than just a quick opening spike.
Sustained engagement. Okay. That makes sense.
And second, it just showed this incredible global appeal. Holding the #1 spot worldwide for 7 weekly periods, that ties the overall record. And hitting #1 daily in 63 countries at the same time. That synchronized global reach. That's what makes it such an anomaly.
Wow. Okay. And that synchronicity, it wasn't just on screen, was it? It spilled over massively into the music charts, too. The soundtrack, the OST, it became this real-world force, especially that track Golden by the fictional group Huntress.
Oh, Golden. Yeah. 6 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That's a new record for an animated film OST. And think about the cultural walls it knocked down. I mean, this was the first K-pop girl group song, and the first song by a virtual artist ever to hit #1 on the Hot 100. You've got fictional characters achieving the kind of peak success real artists fight for decades.
It's kind of mind-bending when you put it like that. Fictional characters topping the charts.
And it wasn't just Golden. The whole KDH soundtrack was the first soundtrack ever to have 4 songs in the Hot 100 top 10 simultaneously. That level of saturation, you just don't see that often, even from, the biggest pop stars.
4 in the top 10 at once.
Yeah. And back in Korea, the success was just as huge, especially on the charts there. The song achieved 1,300 perfect all kills packs on the integrated music charts. Now, for listeners who might not follow K-pop charts closely, getting even 1 pack is incredibly tough. It means you have to be #1 on every single real-time daily and weekly chart all at the same time.
Okay, so 1,300 packs. That's not just breaking a record.
Yeah, it doubled the previous record. Doubled it. That just fundamentally resets the benchmark for what commercial success looks like in the K-pop industry, overnight.
Wow. Okay, and then there's the weird box office story. Because Netflix, their strategy and the whole friction with big theater chains like AMC, the theatrical release was really limited, wasn't it? Just 2 days in only 1,700 theaters, and the big chains basically boycotted it.
Exactly. Despite those huge hurdles, despite the limited scope, the public demand was just so intense that KDH still managed to hit #1 at the North American weekend box office that August. In 2025, this wasn't just some marketing gimmick. It was pure popular will just bypassing the old gatekeepers.
People really wanted to see it on the big screen, even for just 2 days.
They really did.
So, okay, those are the absolutely staggering numbers. Now, let's shift gears. Let's do the deep dive on the how. How did this American-produced fantasy film manage to plug into the global consciousness so perfectly?
Well, I think it boils down to maybe two key things. Really surgical cultural execution and just platform mastery. The creative team, they paid meticulous attention to Korean details, and that really resonated. The setting obviously is Seoul. You see those iconic mountain and river views and that cool juxtaposition of traditional hanok houses right next to gleaming futuristic skyscrapers.
Yeah, the look was amazing, but it went deeper than just scenery, right? They wove actual cultural motifs into the design. Tell us about the Huntress logo and Duffy the animal sidekick, because those specifics, they really show the level of thought.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So the Huntress logo, it's not just some cool graphic. It's modeled precisely on the norige. That's a traditional Korean ornamental pendant, usually worn by women on their clothing. It's got history, meaning. And Duffy, the little companion animal. That design comes from jakhodo, which is this beloved Korean folk art style featuring magpies and tigers.
Ah, okay. So real cultural roots in the design.
Exactly. And Korean viewers picked up on this. They praised it. It wasn't seen as appropriation. It felt like genuine incorporation. They even, kind of funny, they even noted the realism of the fashion. You know how you'd see one character in a heavy puffer jacket standing right next to someone in a tank top in the same scene? Which apparently is super accurate for Korea's wild seasonal transitions and how people dress.
That's a great detail.
Yeah.
That level of specificity, it brings us to the Kimbap scene. Our sources pointed this out as a really interesting, maybe profound cultural shift moment. Expert, historically, wasn't the smell of sesame oil in kimbap sometimes kind of off-putting to American audiences? Like, there were negative comparisons?
Yes, that was definitely a thing. A real documented cultural barrier for certain Korean foods entering the mainstream U.S. market. That sesame oil aroma, some people just didn't get it, or worse, disliked it. Yet in KDH, you have this very deliberate scene. A character just savors the smell of kimbap, loves it, finds comfort in it, and the fact that this scene landed so well that it was celebrated in a huge U.S. animated film, that shows a major reversal. It kind of suggests K-culture's global influence has matured so much that these previously maybe challenging sensory details are now accepted, even embraced. It's a small moment, but it signals something much bigger about global acceptance, you know?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
A small detail with huge implications. Okay, so authentic cultural detail was key. But the success formula isn't complete without looking at Netflix's role, their amplification engine. They didn't just host the film. Their whole system actively helped turn it into this global monster hit.
Precisely. Their algorithm is like this twin engine of success. You've got content-based filtering, which means, okay, if you watched a K-pop documentary or maybe some anime, boom, KDH gets pushed into your feed. That's the obvious part. But the really powerful part is the collaborative filtering.
Okay, break that down. What does collaborative filtering mean for someone just scrolling through Netflix? Give us an example.
Right.
So it means the algorithm connects dots globally, often in unexpected ways. Let's say the system notices that 80% of users in Brazil who watched, I don't know, a specific sci-fi action movie also watched K-pop Demon Hunters. The algorithm then starts pushing KDH to other Brazilians who watch that same sci-fi movie, even if those users have never shown any interest in K-pop or animation before. See? It jumps across language barriers, across traditional genre preferences. It finds these hidden connections to get global content in front of totally new audiences.
Oh, I see. It's finding audience patterns we wouldn't even think of. That's platform optimization. And then you add the marketing strategy on top of that, which was, well, kind of genius for the internet age. They basically gave up control, didn't they? Netflix let people share high-res clips freely. That's unusual. Very unusual, but incredibly smart. They essentially handed the promo keys over to the internet, to the meme makers, the TikTok dancers, the YouTube reactors, all the second-generation content creators. That move just poured gasoline on the fire. It maximized virality instantly. It fueled all those challenges, like the soda pop dance challenge you saw everywhere, millions of memes. The audience basically became the marketing department, amplified by that globally connected Netflix platform.
So the audience did the work, fueled by the platform. Perfect storm.
Pretty much.
Okay, so this amazing blend of cultural detail and algorithmic power, it brings us to our third section. And maybe the most complex, even contentious part. The IP debate and the economic fallout. Because when something gets this big, the conversation shifts, doesn't it? It stops being just about art and starts being about who owns it.
Yeah, the real-world economic impact was immediate and pretty substantial, especially for Korea. You saw things like the UK reporting a 40% jump in searches for travel to Korea right after the film came out, 40%. And Seoul, the city, moved fast to capitalize. They launched these KDH-themed stamp tours, hitting 8 locations from the film, places like Namsan Tower and Aksan Park, turning fictional settings into real tourist spots.
And the corporate tie-ins showed it went totally mainstream, right? This wasn't some niche thing. We saw Samsung putting out exclusive KDH themes for their phones. Nongshim, the food giant, doing special edition Shin Ramyun and Sewokang snacks.
Yeah. Even the Seoul Metropolitan Government got involved, putting on a big drone light show over the Han River, celebrating the film. Even cultural institutions felt it. The National Museum of Korea saw more visitors, and suddenly there was high demand for merchandise with that traditional tiger motif used in the film.
So Korean culture gets this massive global validation, huge tourism and economic boost. Yet despite all that, the film's legal identity, its national origin, that's where the tension lies.
That's the crux of it, factually, legally. The film was produced by a U.S. studio, Sony Pictures Animation, and the intellectual property, meaning all the franchise rights, all the lucrative merchandise streams that was sold to Netflix, a U.S. platform, for about $100 million.
Okay, so on paper, legally, financially, it's American-owned property, full stop. But director Maggie Kang, the creative team, they felt it had the spirit of a Korean film because of all the cultural input, the Korean talent involved.
Yeah.
That seems to be the core conflict. How can something feel so Korean but be owned entirely by an American entity?
And that distinction, that gap between spirit and ownership, it caused real friction back in the Korean industry. Our sources really highlight this sense of, well, lament among Korean politicians and executives at domestic streaming platforms. They basically watched this globally dominant, culture-defining IP explode, powered by Korean elements, but they were kind of on the sidelines, unable to share in or retain ownership of that huge economic upside. They saw it as a massive missed opportunity, the regret that a Korean company didn't manage to produce or acquire this incredibly valuable asset first.
A painful what if for the domestic industry then.
You could say that.
So this whole deep dive, it really paints a picture of the new reality for making and owning content, doesn't it? K-pop Demon Hunters feels like this defining moment where K-culture's global momentum just perfectly intersected with this powerful transnational digital platform, Netflix, and really savvy viral marketing. And the result was, well, unprecedented financial and cultural success that's still making waves.
Absolutely. But it leaves us with a really provocative question. And this is something for you, the listener, to think about. Given that KDH achieved this world record success through global money, American IP ownership, but international, heavily Korean creative input, does the whole idea of content having a strict national origin even matter that much anymore? Or is global cultural production now just defined by whichever platform holds the profitable IP? That tension, cultural spirit versus legal ownership, that's a debate that's likely going to shape the next decade of global entertainment.
Something to definitely chew on. Where does cultural identity end and corporate ownership begin in this globalized media world?